Hi, Lana.
How are you?
I'm good. But Lana and I are in the middle of kind of a heartfelt conversation, and then the 30-second countdown comes up, and I'm like, 30 seconds.
Oh my God.
Didn't mean to cut you off during the middle of our.
No, the
Yeah,
Celtics are on.
I know.
Oh
I'm
my God,
actually, if I get distracted, if you see me looking this way, it's only because I have the Celtics game on.
yeah, and I hear it in the background.
Yeah.
You look very pale today. I actually look paler than you.
So we don't know who the black or white is tonight.
I know, right? This is really bad. Like, what is this?
I always look too white. Like I had shorts on the other day, and somebody said, I mean, some people have no filter, and they're like, you need, to darken your legs.
You're in Florida.
I know.
Maybe my light can give me something because this is like.
But I mean, I could get tan, but it's a process, you got to do it like every day. I can go lay out for a day, like an hour, an hour and a half, and get some, sun.
Yeah.
But
that seems like a lot of work.
Yeah,
a lot of work.
It is, and I'm telling you, I've done it before. I've done it where I've gone like 8 days. I said I am determined to get this tan, and I got a tan. I look pretty good.
Do you do it in the summer, like, because is the sun strong enough now? Like, I don't know how Florida sun is, but
it doesn't matter. Anytime in Florida, you can get some sort of sun. In fact, I had somebody that I worked with. He played golf yesterday, and you could see the, brightness in his face from the sun. And it's, I mean, here it's 72, 73 degrees is the high. So,
which is interesting because today it may be like 50 something right now. We got to 50 today. Right now it's 51.
I mean, it's literally it's basically March already.
This is weird that it's 51 in February.
What is the weather like up there in March?
I mean, we should be anywhere. Well, March is going into spring, so probably 40s. So maybe like high 30s into the 40s should be March, and then April we're getting into the 50s and maybe 60s and on. But it's February has been we haven't gotten snow. Like what, twice?
Yeah,
twice.
You were supposed to, right? Wasn't there supposed to be a big
huge snowstorm, right? And we didn't get a lot. Like it wasn't snow. We're behind.
Yeah.
It's been like that for a couple of years, so.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, down here we have some pretty good weather. There's absolutely no question about it. I mean, other than the hurricanes and stuff like that, but we get a very short time of winter, and outside of that it's always comfortable. It's
right.
I can wear a t-shirt even in 55 60 degree weather because eventually it's going to be 75 degrees.
I can't imagine. Oh my God, that's beautiful, but I don't know, like we talked about it, I'd prefer not to deal with DeSantis or the measles.
Well, there's no question. I mean, you got it now. And also too, I'd imagine, because it gets very hot here, but I think our heat is very similar to your heat up there, isn't it? Isn't it humid up there?
Yeah.
But
I don't think it's the same because but then again, your heat is not like Alabama heat, is it? Because Alabama humidity is like really ridiculous.
I mean, it may be similar. It depends on what part, because the part of Florida I live in is so landlocked that it gets really.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, here are some things that we do know.
Okay, let's go.
We know Donald Trump's an idiot, and boy, every time you don't think this guy could sink to a new low,
we gotta change this. He does.
Yeah, actually. Oh, you know what? I made one.
Oh, you did? Okay, get one because mine is wrong. I'm like, that's not even the right one.
Let's actually do this because Donald Trump sunk to a new low this week. And of course, every time we don't think it's possible, I don't know why we don't, because I think at this point, you and I should probably come to the point where we're expecting another low coming. But this time he spoke and I don't know, Lana, maybe more about this than I do. Are you familiar with the Black Conservative Federation?
I mean, That's where he spoke.
He did
Black
spoke.
Conservative Conference or whatever it's called.
He did speak there, and I'm going to play a couple clips from that conference, but or that whatever it was. But the camera was there, and it panned over to the crowd. I want to see if you notice anything about the crowd here. It's very quick, so you're going to have to look really hard, but take a look. What did you notice about the Black Conservative Federation crowd?
I mean,
the first thing I noticed, there wasn't a lot of people.
Correct. That was a very small room.
And it's
funny, yeah. The Black people stuck out. He saw them because they were the only ones there. Like the ones that he saw, I was like, I don't see any. The light is so bright. I only see the Black people. No, you only saw the Black person because it was only one.
So you saw what I saw, that it seemed to be predominantly white people. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, and it seemed to me like the camera guy may have known that as soon as he was paying. He's like, oh shit, we probably shouldn't show this because we need to show that he is up in front with signs behind him saying I keep forgetting I wrote it down, the Black Conservative Federation signs behind him. So you have to obviously assume that everybody in the crowd that is screaming and cheering like lunatics are the Black coalition that he has formed now, that have gone from Biden to him because he's just so amazing. And in fact, so amazing, he's going to tell us just exactly how he is going to get this Black vote. We're going to play a couple clips here in a row. Okay, Lana, if that's okay with you. Mm-hmm. Yep.
The mugshot, we've all seen the mugshot. And you know who embraced it more than anybody else? The Black population. It's incredible. You see Black people walking around with my mugshot. You know, they do shirts and they sell them for $19 a piece. It's pretty amazing. Millions. Then I got indicted a second time and a third time and a fourth time. And a lot of people said that that's why the Black people like me, because they have been hurt so badly and discriminated against. And they actually viewed me as I'm being discriminated against. It's been pretty amazing.
And he had this.
Would you rather have the Black president or the white president who got $1.7 billion off the price? I think they want the white guy right now.
And finally, he had what Lana alluded to, was this.
These lights are so bright in my eyes that I can't see too many people out there. But I can only see the black ones. I can't see any white ones, you see? That's how far I've come. That's how far I've come. That's a long way, isn't it? These lights.
All right, we get the
we've
picture.
come a long way.
Yeah, they've come a long way together. Lana, what are your thoughts?
I don't know what my thoughts are. Like, I can't even, like, it's not even funny. Like, it's not even funny. It's just, it's horrifying. Like, you know, we laugh about that, but it's not funny. Like, it's vulgar. It's disgusting, man. Like, it's the mockery of it all. He's not even talking to black people. That's what makes it worse, right? A bunch of white people are laughing at his racism.
Yes.
He's not even talking to black people. Like, he's a racist con man, and he's trying to gaslight black people into thinking. I mean, let's just say this. Black people know better. Yeah, he's got Ben Carson, Tim Scott, and Byron Donaldson kissing his ass. But the majority of black people, he's just not going to get over the 8 to 9%. He's not going to get it. He doesn't want it. He doesn't care. That's why he says what he says. He just wants to suppress our votes. But it's just gross, man. Like, how do you... like he knows how it feels to be a black man. Like he knows how Trayvon Martin felt. Well, that was a kid, but George Floyd, like you said some awful things about him. So the nerve of you to say that, the nerve of you to say that when you talked about Shay Moss and her and Lady Ruby and accused them of like hiding drugs, and you're like, oh, my people can relate to me because of, they always got mugshots. So I saw them walking around with the picture of me in the mugshots, and I think they were selling the picture for $20. Can you believe it? 20? Like, what the fuck is that? I've never seen anyone. And if anyone bought that, it's because they're like, yeah, motherfucker got arrested. That's why they got it. Not because, oh, we relate to you, rich, white, racist man who wanted CP5 executed. Like, oh, stop it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably, I mean, obviously it's offensive, and I can't imagine how offensive it is to you, but I think there's also a point too where I can almost tell that it's kind of like you said, it's not even funny, like, but you don't even take it seriously because he's just such a clown. And I think he thinks he's getting over on a population that he's not, but he says it in a way where he's trying to fool the white crowd there that he is. Now, obviously, the white crowd's not smart enough to look around the room and see that he's talking to a lot of people just like him instead of talking to the people.
I don't even know if I believe that. Like, you can't believe what you see with Donald Trump. You can't believe what you hear with Donald Trump. Like, you can't tell me that either those were like actors that he had bust in,
Right,
or you like, I don't believe it. Like, I don't believe anything that he does because it's all for show. It's all to gaslight America. So how do we know that those people weren't in on it? They just got because dude like videotaped it. We would have never known. Nobody would have ever in that room say, oh, the room was full of white people. We would have never gotten an interview from none of those people. Donald Trump said, I can only see the black people. There weren't any black people. I saw one black person on the side. Like,
yeah.
that was a lie.
That almost seemed like a sort of a planned line, and I don't know. He just thinks it was like it like hit, and it was just like, dude, you don't know what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like that was all set up. What the fuck is the Black Conservative Federation? It's almost like it's some made up shit. Can somebody?
I would say that it is some made up shit because I've never heard of it. Have you ever heard of it?
Not a federation. If it said Black Conservative Conference or something like that, maybe I would have understood it. Because I remember in Idaho, there was like the Black Conservative something there that he wouldn't even speak to when he was in Idaho, right? Before their primary. They wanted to meet with him and he said no. So now he's talking to Black conservatives. Like, get the fuck out of here. I don't believe it.
It's all ruse. And this guy obviously is a cage tiger. He's got his back against the wall. He knows what happens to him if he does not win this election. So he's got to try to pull out every stop. And again, when your back is to the wall, although even if his back's not to the wall, I would assume, and maybe you would agree, that he would go to this low regardless. It doesn't matter, with this guy. He would just go to this low regardless. And, again, it's just so corny and just so stupid that we're still dealing with this guy. And I obviously we're all hoping that by the time November rolls around, we understand, I think, that America is going to come to their senses and say, this is enough.
I think that they will.
Yeah.
We don't have a choice. I think we're going to be okay. I think.
Yeah, I think so. But moving on, I watched your show last Thursday, and it was really, I mean, obviously there's many subjects that you have on the show that you're passionate about and that you talk about, but it was about as passionate as I've seen you on your show. And one of the subjects that you spoke upon was the Alabama ruling about the in vitro fertilization case in Alabama, where apparently a hospital had some frozen embryos. Somebody dropped them on the ground, and the long short of it is that the Alabama Supreme Court ruled that those were children, and that now frozen embryos are considered children, and that is something that women use a lot. Now, I'll be honest. I know when we talk about in vitro fertilization, I understand it is a birthing process for women and stuff like that. I don't understand the entire process. I didn't until, I saw this. But somebody who absolutely did not understand any of it was a senator that makes laws. Right. And his name is Tommy Tubberville of Florida, even though he somehow is the senator of Alabama. It's my understanding he lives in Florida. But I'm sure you saw the clip, and we got to play the clip of... Yeah. It looked like he was at a conference. I think it was at CPAC, and some reporters got to him and wanted to interview him about the new ruling. And you could just see in his face where he realized he has no idea what he's talking about. Right. But, this, again, it's just so embarrassing that this is the person that is in charge of the laws of this country.
Right. Reaction to the Alabama Supreme Court ruling on the fact that embryos are children?
Yeah, I was all for it. You just got to look at everything going on in the country. It's just an attack on families, attack on kids. Anything that we can do for the future of our young people, because they're our number one commodity. We need to have more kids. We need to have an opportunity to do that. And I thought this was the right thing to do. But
IVF is used to have more children, and right now IVF services are paused at some of the clinics in Alabama. Aren't you concerned that this could impact people who are trying to have kids?
Well, that's for another conversation. I think the big thing is right now you go back to the situation and try to work it out to where it's best for everybody. I mean, that's what the whole abortion issue is about. So,
but this really isn't about abortion. It's about IVF and the concern that now families might not have access to it.
But it's about the same direction. But I agree. But people need to have access. People need to have. We need more kids. We need the people to have the opportunity to have kids. I'd have to look at the entire bill and how it's written. I have not seen it.
Supreme Court decision.
Well, I know that.
Yeah, first of all, Lana, he just called it a bill. It wasn't a bill. It was a Supreme Court decision.
Right. And then he goes, I know that.
Yeah, he's just going to
keep about
talking.
The Supreme. He's thinking about the Supreme Court of the United States.
Right. Exactly. And, again, first of all, it wasn't even a bill. It wasn't something that they're trying to pass. This is a decision that was made by the state that he came from. And still completely doesn't understand. But another reporter is going to ask him a question. You could just tell he really wants to get out of this.
I'd have to look. I haven't looked at it, but this is state issue.
Women aren't going to be able to have IVF treatments already in some places.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
What do you say to them?
Unfortunate.
Unfortunate. Could alienate swing voters in the general election?
I don't know. It might some, but you don't hear a lot of talk about it. I mean, you don't. That's not a big conversation.
Well, it's a conversation now, and IVF is not a Democrat or Republican issue. Families across the board use it. What is your message to the Supreme Court if this does in fact stop families from being able to use IVF?
Well, we don't need that.
Wow, Joe. We need more kids.
Yeah,
we need more kids. Amen to that.
Let's remove that. But
we need more kids.
Yeah,
we need more kids. We ain't more. That's.
Well, first of all, why do we need more kids? Can somebody explain that to me?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I've been saying that they want more kids. Look at the laws that they're doing. They're laxing child labor laws. After COVID, we lost millions, right? Or during COVID, during the pandemic, we lost a lot of the workforce.
Mm-hmm.
They want the workforce back. That's one of the reasons, right? Like that's why the lax labor laws, because they need people in these jobs. They don't want migrants coming in. So we might as well use the damn kids, or the migrant kids, if they get separated and end up in one of their states, they allow them to work the deadly jobs. Then they feel like they're becoming the minority. So they want more white kids.
That's exactly what it is. And, it's the same concept of, what they really need versus what they're saying is happening. And what they're saying is happening is that Joe Biden is letting in immigrants for, with no vetting and just letting them in because they come in and they vote for him. And it's so ridiculous because you can't obviously vote as an illegal immigrant.
Right.
But if they come in legally and they vote for Joe Biden, they vote for whoever they want. In fact, there's a large Latino population that come in that vote for Republicans in this country because they come from countries that were socialist countries, and it really freaks them out. And when they are told here that the Democratic Party is the socialist party that wants to do to America what they did to Venezuela or whatever they did to their country, that freaks them out. So they vote Republican. But this is right. He wants more white children because it's clear that at some point whites are going to be the minority in this country, and that's okay, but that freaks them the fuck out, and they know it's coming, and their plan is, okay, white people, let's do it. Let's have more kids. We've got to get back on track here. And unfortunately for the people that have that mindset, it's just not going to happen. It's just eventually we're going to be the minority, and that to them it sounds really scary, but that's what America's really all about.
Yeah. And I think that's part of it too, because part of it is control, right? Because if you want more kids, everything that they're doing is not to make more kids. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, what they're doing is like not pro kid. It's not pro child when you're making women carry dead fetuses. That's not pro-child.
Right.
Women dying in childbirth along with the fetus is not pro-child. It's not pro-child to like decline summer food programs. That's not pro-child. Like, none of it is not pro-child. There are mass shootings in school. So if you really, and not just a black school or a brown school or a native school. There's like all children, white children included. So how in the world could they really want white children if they're letting them die as well? Like, none of it makes sense. It's just almost like they just want a freaking Christian America, whatever the fuck that looks like to them. That's what they want. They just want white men to control everything. So I don't even know if it's really about the kid. Like, we say it, and that's maybe it's some of them, but I don't think that's doesn't fit to me. Like,
Lonnie, it's definitely not about the kids. And I'm glad actually you brought some things up that I'm going to talk about here, and everything that you just said is almost directly about what we're going to talk about. And it's funny because Lana, I don't really usually tell her. I just tell her, hey, you're coming on at 8. She's like,
we don't talk about it. We don't plan.
we don't plan. So we just kind of wing it. So, and some people in the comment section say that they get the idea that we do.
Yay! It's working.
I have no problem with that. But what I was going to say is they make up these things that I'm not saying don't happen, but they use this as their main focus of protecting the children. It's the abortion issue, and it's also this issue of things that don't happen, like trans people go ahead and get these surgeries so they can go into bathrooms and they can rape your 16 or 13 or 8-year-old child.
Right.
That just doesn't have, there's no proof that people get transgender surgery so they can go, and I'm guessing that if you're a child rapist or you're a pedophile, they don't care about changing their gender. They're going to find a way to do it. And it's terrible and it's awful. And I 100% am behind protecting children in that manner, but they don't get a fucking chop their dick, or they don't grow a dick, or whatever it is they think they do. I don't even know. I have no idea. They think that this actually happens, and there's absolutely no proof that this happens. I'm not saying you can't antidote me to death with 1 or 2 cases that happen from here and there, but this is not a thing that happens.
No, because
So
we can definitely give more cases of Republican pastors,
100%.
bishops, police officers,
Yep.
those people who are actually sexually abusing children.
I wonder why do they not bring them up if this is that important to them?
Right. Why is it always one-sided? Because again, they don't care about the children. They just care to use that as a talking point. We're all tools in their big game. They're just using us all. All they want to do is continue to create hate, chaos. That's what they thrive in. That's what their support is like. That is how they get their votes. And it's disgusting. And that's the scary part about what's happening in the world today, because it's stoking so much hate. And what happened to Next Benedict, that poor child.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that too.
That was jumped at school because they were binary. Binary? I didn't even understand. Non-binary. They're non-binary. That's what it was.
Yeah.
They were the other. Is what it died. And when you have schools that are like, no, use a bathroom that you're assigned. Don't say gay. Don't say trans. We're not using your pronouns. You're telling other kids that something's wrong with that one. So of course they're gonna go and like pick on that. Your adults are telling them to. Like how your policies are telling those kids that it is okay to pick on those children like that. It's oh my God, it's just
coming a lot from the Jesus people too. And again, it is infuriating because like you just said earlier, you're just kind of like binary, non-binary. I think Lana, and again, I never speak for Lana. I can only speak for myself, but just based on what she said, I don't know that you and I completely understand the entire program when it comes to transgender, but I think you and I do understand one thing. They're human beings, and whatever it is they decide is best for their life, as long as it's not illegal, as long as it's not hurting anybody, as long as it is not detrimental to anything, I don't understand why anybody is so angry over this. I just I can't click. It doesn't click with me.
It's a kid, man. It's a fucking kid.
Let's say it's a full adult. Who gives a fuck?
Right. But just when you're picking on kids, it's even worse, because all they want to do is figure out their lives. They haven't even gotten to a place where they can figure this all out. So while they're trying to figure this out, they're being attacked. It's all like, just imagine when you were a kid and your growing pains and the issues you had with a fucking pimple, right? Or your nose is too big, or your ears. But can you imagine not really understanding what you ID with, or who you ID with? Like, you don't know, like that compounded. It's tough. And then you have like other, it's just, I remember being bullied in school.
Yeah, I think every kid can look back.
Right. And you know how that felt. I can't imagine feeling like the other that much and then being bullied, or being in a school. My school is diverse. Can't imagine being in a school where someone's constantly calling me the N-word or talking about my hair or my skin color. I don't know.
We're all, like I said, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what race we are. It doesn't matter what gender we are. It doesn't matter what religion we are. We all feel pain. We all hurt. And some people more than others because of things that they just, none of it makes sense. And I don't understand. Like I said, I've had this conversation many times. If somebody can just explain to me, if somebody says, I don't like this, and my question to you is, it's just one question and one word. Why? Why don't you like it? What is it that bothers you about this? What is it that changes your life? What is it that makes any bit of difference in your life as to why this should bother you? And I can't get anybody to really
God
answer.
said, the Bible said, yeah, the Bible said, love thy neighbor. Like, what are you talking about? That's like the simple thing. I don't even remember all of the Bible. I know it said that part. Like,
Well, I actually did a podcast on transgender. I gotta say, it was some of my best work, and it was all on the transgender issue. And I did some research on it, and I found that the first transgender person was back in the 1800s. So this was post God. So I don't know if there's anything in the Bible that mentions anything about transgender people, unless somebody can prove that it came. First of all, you're going to have a hard time proving to me that anything happened during the biblical times. But from my understanding, the first transgender person was in the 1800s, and that was certainly way after God and Jesus decided. And in fact, I'm glad you brought that up, because we're going to transition now into what you were talking about earlier, unless you have something else to say. Did you have anything else to say? Lana brought up the fact, and we talked about this a little bit last week, and the more and more that I see what the plan is from the Republican Party, and if it wasn't obvious already, they're making it more and more obvious now, is they are looking for a Christian nationalist country. That's exactly what they want. And they think that bringing this Christian nationalist type country is going to solve every one of their either what they think are problems or their made up problems. Right. So there's a couple clips I want to play, but I saw this article on it, and I'm going to read a couple things if that's okay, about Christian nationalism. And it kind of spells out the difference between Christian nationalism and Christian people, who kind of are getting the raw deal on this whole thing. But this article defines Christian nationalism is the belief that America is defined by Christianity, and the government should take steps to keep it that way. That America is and must remain a Christian nation, that our country's laws should be based upon the teachings of Christianity, and any other source of grounding other than that is detrimental and destructive to her long-term well-being and must be resisted and opposed. Christian nationalists believe America is the new Israel, that God has raised her up, placed a divine calling upon her, and assigned her a preferred and providential place among the nations of the world. They have fused Christianity with our national culture in ways that tarnish the essence of authentic faith in Jesus. They are trying to bring about life change through cultural change, rather than cultural change being the product of genuine life change. It's at odds with the message of the gospel and the teachings of Jesus. So that's how the article defines Christian nationalism. Do you have any comments about that? Anything that stuck out?
Of the Constitution, right? Because the Constitution says not to make laws based in religion.
Yeah, and I think there are some people that think that that is not the case, that they go, that's technically not in the Constitution. That is, but the founders have made it clear that they want the separation of church and state that's not something that we heard over the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years. That is something that was originated during the foundation of this country, is that the founders wanted a clear separation of church and state. And for me, it's really even more amazing to me that they thought about this back then, right. Because Christianity and God and all that stuff was way more prevalent. Now you have more people who don't believe than you have people that do believe.
Exactly. And that's the crazy thing. It's like the fucking nerve of you to want to make laws based in Christianity when everyone's not a Christian.
Right.
What the fuck is that? And you and your uncommitted vote Muslims, do you think that they want America to have you in it? Absolutely not. They've been telling us everything that Trump did the last time, the Muslim bans, you know, whatever other nonsense he wanted to do is coming back tenfold. These people are not playing. The plans are being put in place. This Alabama IVF thing, this is just the tip of the iceberg. They're coming for abortion pills, they're coming for birth control. Pretty soon you will not be able to have your hysterectomy unless there's a problem. Like you just can't have it. Wait, are you still baby age? No, you cannot have a hysterectomy. You have to keep your uterus. Like, it's going to be crazy. Like, it just is.
Lana, what's the I mean, are they just so hell-bent on it that they're going to push it no matter what? Because it does not seem popular with anybody other than the maybe 25 to 30% of the people who are buying into it.
Do they care what's popular with the majority of the people?
They're trying to win. So you think, like, why are they pushing it so hard if they're trying to win?
They're trying to backtrack on this one, right?
On the IVF.
Right, because you hear Trump saying that, and then Trump tried to backtrack on the abortion ban. He's like, oh, you can have it up until 16 weeks. That's a nice even number.
Right.
Like,
That's the reason reportedly why he said 16 weeks, because it was an even number, not because he had some I'm not even gonna get into the fucking mindset of that fucking idiot, but it does surprise me that they are going full force with this. In fact, there are some Republicans, MAGA Republicans, who are concerned that they are pushing this so hard now, because I think the strategy for the people who do have the concern are the ones like, pull back on it a little bit and then we'll tear it up once we get in office.
Exactly. Exactly. They're gonna gas.
And that's why I'm saying that's why I don't understand the strategy right now, other than they live in that bubble where they are surrounded by so many people saying, please do this, please do this, please do this. And I don't think they realize how much they're hurting their ultimate cause, which I'm thrilled with, because the more they do it, the less of a chance they're going to have voters that are going to come out and not just vote for them, but vote against them. And some people will say, oh, so you're just going to have people come out and vote against Donald Trump and not even for Joe Biden. I'm like, I don't give a flying fuck why they come out to vote. If they do it, whether they're voting for Biden, which I am, I know for a fact that's why I'm voting. And, and if it wasn't Joe Biden and it was somebody else that I couldn't stand, I definitely would not be voting for Donald Trump. So here's what they say, how Christianity differs from Christian nationalism. Christianity is a belief system based on the teaching and work of Jesus. You've heard of Jesus?
Jesus?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. A Jesus who said his agenda was to transform lives and build a kingdom that was not of this world. He made this point abundantly clear when he stood before and was questioned by Pilate. And I'm assuming that's Pontius Pilate. Is that right?
Yes.
Do I have that right?
I don't know.
I know my Jesus.
Jesus, you know your Jesus better than me.
I know. Well, you have the Bible behind you.
Oh, shoot. You want me to look something up?
Yeah. Don't mind. Is there an index in the back where you could just look out Pontius Pilate and see where he falls in the Bible? Because the kingdom... Because the kingdom Jesus came to establish is not of this world, it operates differently. Instead of being about the acquisition and exercise of powers over others, his kingdom advances through the expression of love and the diligent demonstration of power under others. It advances by his, by the way, a pronoun. It advances by his people pouring themselves out and serving. Christian nationalism, by contrast, is an ideology focused on primarily on the identity of our nation. It's about the ongoing development and formation of our country according to the specific cultural template, one that, to be sure, calls attention to certain morals, but seeks to regulate conduct through their imposition and enforcement. So it sounds to me, just by reading that, that there is a difference between Christianity and Christian nationalism. And I would assume that somebody that's a true Christian, somebody that goes to church and they've lived their whole life based on the book of Jesus and the Bible and all that stuff. And again, I those are the people I admire, and I would have no issue with, and I would encourage, them to continue to do that. It seems to me there's a big difference, and I don't know how they sort of come together with this Christian nationalism thing. I don't know. Do they vote along with it? Do they not vote with it? I don't know, because again, it goes with some of their beliefs, but not how they think, Jesus would be if he were on earth and talking to the people who were part of that whole.
Right. I can't see them agreeing with that. That's like, I can't. I know Christians and they don't agree with this.
Yeah. And it is encouraging. Sometimes you'll see on Twitter, or you'll see on YouTube, or you see whatever. I mean, and you'll see real Christians and go, this is not us. This is ridiculous. This is, we have our certain beliefs, but our true belief is what Jesus was teaching, and his teaching was love, and his teaching was care, and his teaching was all this stuff. And there's nothing to me about a Marjorie Taylor Greene or some of the people I'm about to play clips of that have this caring or love in their heart for everybody.
None of it. It's just not a Christian bone in their bodies.
The Alabama case you were talking about, Lana, one of the justices, Tom Parker, in his concurring opinion, this is what he said. Even before birth, all human beings have an image of God, and their lives cannot be destroyed without effacing his glory. That is a judge ruling on this case, and there's no separation. I mean, it's as clear as day that church is 100% behind his ruling. And this is not the country that we built. This is not the country that most people want.
And they just ignore science. Like, what they're saying is just, it's stupid. It doesn't make a lick of sense. A fucking embryo is not a fucking child. How can you say that, but then in the same breath, like, no, you can't claim it on your taxes? You're saying it's a child. I would argue that is child abuse to have it frozen and put in some cryogenic fucking to whatever tubes these things are. Who's babysitting these children? Like, it's so fucking dumb. It's not a baby. And I heard a woman say this earlier today. One of the women who was scheduled to have IVF and now can't have it. She was like, those are not children. That is a chance. Embryos are a chance at a baby. It's a chance, because it may not happen. That's the other thing. Just because you have an embryo implanted doesn't mean you're going to come out the other side with a baby. So obviously, this is not a child. Like, what the fuck are we talking about?
Well, the other thing too, Lana, is what if you have embryos frozen, you are able to use, and this is, and forgive me if I'm ignorant on this, but you have embryos used and you were able to get pregnant and there are embryos left over and you don't plan on having any more kids. What do you do with that?
That's the issue. That's one of the issues, right? Because you're saying if you dispose of them, you're murdering children.
Right.
So
what do you keep them forever? Do you house them forever? Or?
Exactly. Because you make multiple. You don't just do one embryo for implantation because you want as many as possible to give her a good chance. So if you have 5 more left, what are you just going to keep millions and billions of embryos? Like you said, who's paying for that?
And I got to imagine, and I don't know this to be a fact, and this is just something that I thought of, there's got to be some sort of expiration date on this, right?
You would think, like, what the fuck? That's why it doesn't make any, what are we doing it? But, and it goes deeper than that, because with the embryos, they do DNA testing, right? Because you have to get the best embryos, right? The ones
Mhm.
that you think you're not going to implant one that's going to immediately miscarry. So you do these DNA testing. And they're also saying that too is a form of doing something to the child when you're doing the DNA testing. Like, so they're just fucking stupid. It's like they really need to talk to a doctor, and I don't think they want to. They don't want to know. It's just like nana nana boo boo.
Yeah.
Fertilization it's a child. Like, it's not a child. Let these people do claim them on their taxes. They should have
Right.
8 deductions right here. If they're actual children, you're saying they're actual children, and you could be charged with murder, then you get to claim them on your taxes. Like, what are you
Right.
talking about? I get food stamps for them.
Right.
Does the man does he have to pay child support with these embryos? What if we divorce? Who has custody of the embryos? Do they go with the dad to do? Are we going to be in court trying to figure this out? It's just dumb.
Well, I think you said earlier, it's the white male Christians who really want to take over this country. And in fact, here's a clip of Mike Johnson speaking about how this country, what happened to it and why it's so bad, and what they need to change. And obviously, if you listen to the language, you can hear exactly what he feels like needs to be changed in this country.
Late 60s, we invented things like
Remember.
no-fault divorce laws. We invented the sexual revolution. We invented radical feminism. We invented legalized abortion in 1973, where the state, the government, sanctions the killing of the unborn. I mean, we know that we're living in a completely amoral society. And so people say, how can a young person go into their schoolhouse and open fire on their classmates? Because we've taught a whole generation, a couple of generations now of Americans, that there is no right and wrong.
Yep. No fault divorce is the reason why kids are going in and shooting up schools.
Because it's
And
not
radicalized feminism.
not the easy access, right? It's just that can't be a reason. It's like your parents got divorced.
Well, here's where I think this guy is coming from. And part of it is because I've heard real life stories of, I know this young lady, and she was in an abusive marriage, and she's very, very religious, and he's one of these guys that are a phony religious guy. He'll go to church every Sunday, but he's an asshole from, Monday through Saturday. So she wanted to divorce the guy. And so he convinced her to go talk. And it wasn't to a real therapist. It was a pastor. Now, I'm not saying pastors can't be therapists. Some of them, I'm sure, do a fine job. But the one that they went to was basically telling her that, he's the man and you've got to be good to him. You cannot divorce him. And it was that whole thing. And that's the mentality of these psychopaths that, that's why he mentions radicalized feminism. Radicalized feminism, that's not what it is. Basically, what it is women decided we're as equal as you, and you're not fucking with us. That's really all it comes down to. And guys like him, they don't like that. They're like, no. You're going to be the woman that's going to be in my kitchen cooking, and my dinner's going to be ready when I get home, and you're going to have sex with me whenever I'm ready. And, that's basically, you will never do whatever, you'll never cheat. If I want to go out and cheat, nothing you can do about it. That's exactly what that guy is.
Right. Because they couldn't use birth control either, right? So it's just like baby upon baby upon baby upon baby. It's just like whenever he wanted. And like you said, the man could cheat. They couldn't divorce.
Yeah.
It's like, the Catholic religion was awful.
Yeah. Well, if you didn't think he could be one-upped, there was a pastor that was recorded within the last couple weeks. I assume it's the last couple weeks because I just saw this clip. It may have been longer than that. I don't know. I don't care if it was a year, 2, 3, 5 years ago. It doesn't matter. But this is the mentality of these fucking nuts. Listen to this pastor, what he has to say about a woman who might wear short shorts.
Go in those places with shorts than you will women with pants and dresses put together.
Yeah, you know,
I said,
the women with these shorts and pants, got to be careful with them, Lana. All right, listen to this if you haven't heard this.
if you dress like that and you get raped and I'm on the jury, he's going to go free.
That is fucking crazy.
And it's funny, when he first said the short thing, the first thing I thought about was that he's got a server full of pornography.
This guy is as freaky as they get. He's probably one of those guys that we'll see on Twitter that's has a mugshot.
Yeah.
You know, and I should say I shouldn't say probably, but I would say I wouldn't be shocked.
Strong, right.
I mean,
If I was on a jury, I would say, so you're okay with rape because of what she's wearing? Like, who are...
Lana, if I said that at my job, I'd be fired instantly. I'd be fucking fired. He did not just say this at his job. He said this in the house of worship, the house of Jesus.
And I know women, if there were any in that audience, felt funny when he said it. There's no way.
Oh, you would hope.
You weren't like, yeah, you right. Like something had to go. Oh.
Well, you notice nobody even really reacted, which I don't know if that, and I would hope that there were some people that said, hey, dude, no, I've got daughters. I've got wives. I've got, yeah.
Like, who are you to decide? Like, they can't wear shorts? Like, so at 90 degrees, you just don't show your legs? Like, what country are we in right now?
I object to women who don't wear shorts. What do you think about that?
It's just fucking people like that. Like,
people are nuts.
Vote, everyone.
100%. 100%. Another clip. There's a guy. Do you know Jack Posebic?
No.
He's one of these right-wing nutballs that apparently I think he's a co-host on the who's that really racist dude? Charlie Kirk. Turning Point USA or whatever. And I think they host a lot of these conferences and stuff like that. He is telling us what the plan is for the Republican Party if they get elected. And again, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, why they're so brazen about saying this out loud when they know they're on. This isn't one of these old things where you secretly recorded and maybe some people will hear about it. If you're secretly recorded now, it's going to be blasted all over social media, especially if you have a profile like Jack Posebic does. But this is what he had to say at one of their crazy, batshit crazy conferences.
Hey, look, welcome to the end of democracy.
And by the way, this is that if you see to the very left, that is Steve Bannon, who I've always said has been running this show from day one.
Yeah.
We're here to overthrow it completely. We didn't get all the way there on January 6th, but we will endeavor to get rid of it and replace it with this right here. We'll replace it with this right here.
Amen.
Amen.
He raised a fist in the air. I don't know what that means other than probably some sort
White
of secret.
power?
Yeah, probably. That's what they're going to replace it with. So that's what we have to look forward to. And, you know, the sad part is, Lana, is I think there's a lot of people who subscribe to what these people are saying, and they think that this is good for them. They think it's just something that they should and will celebrate if all of this happens. First of all, the full fruition of their plan, I really don't see could ever happen, although I don't want to be, you know, naive to the fact that somehow, some way, because, you know, I never thought Donald Trump would be president, but I think they're going to be really disappointed at some point where I don't know what it is they think other than for a short period of time, liberals will be trolled. But outside of that,
if Trump was president, or
yeah, if Trump wins and they
no, I think different. I think all bets are off because he's got the full Republican Party behind him, and the ones that weren't behind him have retired. He has Congress. he's not Supreme Court. He's gonna figure out how to get around them and get over them. Like, he's going to do what the fuck he wants to do. He's got Project 25, and they're going to do it.
No, I think what I was trying to say was, are the people who are voting, I think for a while they think it's going to be good for them, and then they're going to realize that all the plans that they have are not really going to benefit them, other than they get to troll liberals on Twitter. I mean, I think
that's all they want, Brian.
Right.
They don't have any plans. Donald Trump doesn't announce policy. These people aren't voting for Trump for policy. These people are voting for Trump to get their white hope in there. They don't care about if he does nothing for them. They don't care if he steals Social Security. They'll just be like, well, we didn't need it anyway. Like, they will be convinced. I don't think that those voters don't care about policy. Like,
I think you're right. I do think that a lot of these voters that, are easily brainwashed into this, I do believe at some point they're going to be like, wait, where's my Social Security? I think the only problem is that they'll be gaslighted into thinking somehow the Democrats took it away from them. So
when he left, yeah,
and I think that's probably, and so maybe I'm wrong. I mean, maybe it is possible that, because again, they'll buy into anything. And it's obvious at this point.
They were asking a woman after one of Trump's speeches about, like, do you want a strong man, or what is a strong man? And she's like, yeah, the strong man, he's tough and he can run America. And it's just like, that is not what the fuck a strong man is, right?
No.
A strong man is a whole dictator. Like, they don't understand the words that's why they clap at the inopportune moments, because they don't know what he's talking about. They have no idea.
Well, I know somebody that asked a girl about Trump, and she was just like, well, I just like the way he talks. And it's just like, you're not voting for favorite professional wrestler. You're voting for president of the United States. And by the way, he talks like a fucking moron. What are you talking about?
You could put a third grader up there,
right,
to talk better than Donald Trump.
No question in my mind.
What the hell? He talks good. He talks like a clown. It's just, oh my God, where are my African Americans?
Well, here's the thing, and I do, a lot of so people like to go with the polls, and I have people on Twitter coming at me saying, ha ha ha, Joe Biden's down in every swing state. He has zero chance of winning. He has no chance. But you and I talked about this last week. There are so many positive signs as to why Joe Biden probably is going to win. We looked at his fundraising last week, which is record breaking, where the RNC basically has no money. And Donald Trump has no money. Donald Trump is going to have no time to really go out and speak. Although I really don't think that that's that big of a deal, because Donald Trump's just going to be in the news constantly. So he probably doesn't even need that kind of money, because it's always just going to be in your face, because that's what the media loves. And that's what the media's pretty much come down to. But also too, there's a lot of exit polling in these Republican primaries that are showing that Donald Trump is losing some luster. Yeah, he's winning these races, and obviously it looks good for him, but he only won South Carolina by, I think it was less than 20 points. And he was supposed to win by 30 or more. And all these polls are showing that Donald Trump's supposed to win by more. The New York special election was basically tied. And the gentleman, who I forget his name, won by 7 points. So these polls, I think at some point you just got to go to reality and go, the Democrats have won everything since 2016. They really, in a year that they should have gotten obliterated in 2022, they wound up holding on to the Senate and literally barely lost the House. And traditionally, they would have got blown out, but it was close. And, there was, what's her name? That nutball, Lauren Boebert. She only won by like less than, I think it was like 100 points or something like that.
Right.
So, So there is a lot of positive things to look at. I think the thing that you and I have talked about that probably still bothers me the most are the progressives who are insistent on, still trying to beat up Joe Biden for what's going on in Gaza. And, I've heard some of them saying, well, I cannot with my conscience go in and vote for Joe Biden because he's allowing genocide in Gaza. And my only question back to that is that will your conscience allow you to say to the women, to the LGBTQ community, to the Black community, to the, every other community that is downtrodden or that has issues in this country, are you going to be able to look them in the eye? Because if you're telling me that Gaza, which is horrific and it is terrible, and it is a war that was started by somebody else, not by Joe Biden, are you telling me that's your number one and only issue? What is going on here?
Right. This is exactly how I felt. Can we back up 1 second back to Trump?
Of course.
And his numbers, because I also want to laser focus on Nikki Haley and what Nikki Haley is able to pull out of these states. And if she's pulling out that 39.8% or whatever, and Trump's only, barely getting his 60, that's problematic to Trump.
Yes.
In these states, Nikki Haley is getting way too many votes. So that means that those people are probably not going to vote for Trump. And even if a few did, maybe 10% of those said, you know what, I'm just going to hold my nose, vote for Trump. You still have 30% of Republicans that are either going to sit it out or vote for Biden.
Well, they made it clear in a lot of the exit polling that they will not vote for Donald Trump. They've made it clear, and it's been, significant. And that is a big deal that nobody's talking about because Joe Biden doesn't get clicks. He doesn't sell advertising. Donald Trump does. So you got to keep him in the news constantly. And that's, to me, what makes me sick about our American media now is it's not really about, because again, if it's really true, if the American media was really stepping up, then every fucking day, instead of hearing about Joe Biden's age, or if you want to talk about his age, you would at least counter it with, man, he's old, but let's take a look at everything he's accomplished in 3 fucking years that no other president that we can remember has accomplished this much with such a divided Congress. It's spectacular what he's been able to pull off, whether you like or you care about the initiatives or not. It has been nothing short of phenomenal. So if the media was really, serious about this, they would report on that more, but they don't because everything's about Trump.
I mean, well, the good thing is, he went on, was it Jimmy Kimmel or whatever it was?
It was Seth Meyers.
So he was on that, and it was a good interview, right? He was asked about his age, and he was like, this guy is, almost old as I am, but you know what? Donald Trump's policies are old, or whatever he said. It made a lot of sense. We saw him getting some ice cream. So just seeing him more. I did hear that they're going to start buying up billboard space and putting Trump's picture on there with what he said about Roe, how he owns it, to remind people, and they have the money to do it. So I do think that it's going to start happening. I really think that they're waiting for after Super Tuesday before they really start hitting him, and they are going to hit him. And then just to back up real quick about the people who, because Michigan is happening right now, the Michigan primary, and that they had the campaign there to write in uncommitted. Very disappointed in Beto O'Rourke because he came out there and told people to write in uncommitted. Of course, we know at the end of the day, Beto would support Biden, but it's very dangerous, and I'm very disappointed in him. Very dangerous because of this, and Brian just touched on it. It's just not a smart thing. We have to remain united. a whole bunch of things can be true at once. Like Brian,
Correct.
Gaza is horrific. How did
Mhm.
we get to Gaza? We speak so much about Gaza, we forget that there are still Israeli prisoners that need
Right.
to be saved, right? So Biden is damned if he does, damned
Yep.
if he doesn't. He's in an awful position. He
Yep.
has made it perfectly clear that he doesn't agree how Israel is going in, to find Hamas, right?
Yep.
He's made that clear.
Yep.
It's not his war. It is not America's war. There is only so much that Joseph Biden can do, and that's try to get him to tamp down how he's going about doing this. Get a ceasefire, maybe get a plan, maybe get a plan, right? That's
Yeah.
it. He's not going to say don't get your hostages like that. That's the thing that's not going to happen.
Right.
He's not going to say to Israel no more war while they're still hostages, because we wouldn't have done that during 9/11. Like there was no way we were going to be like, you know what, towers are down, cool,
Yeah.
we're going to stop. That's just
It's
bad.
Yeah, it's a tricky situation. I mean, I think a lot of the pro-Palestinian people, or the people talking about Gaza, I think they're just more disappointed in the fact that Joe Biden has not cut off the aid that probably would end, the war, because it is my understanding that there were even people in Israel saying, if they cut off our aid, it's over for us. We can't really do anything,
Can
which
we do that to an ally? Like, isn't that our ally over on that side of the world? Like, we kind of need that ally. Is that kind of what it is? That's why we've been allies for a long time, because I thought Israel helped us over there in the Red Sea or whatever is going on. Like
I think Israel as a nation is our ally, but I'm not really sure Netanyahu
Well,
is.
not him. No,
Yeah, and I
not,
think
not,
that's
yeah, not
probably the
that
thing,
guy.
is that, they're talking about a guy that took over. Like if Donald Trump is running this country, I'm not sure places in Europe are necessarily going, that's our ally anymore, even though technically they are.
Right. Netanyahu wants Donald Trump to win.
No question.
He wants, because Trump will let him do whatever he
No
wants.
question. So does
So
Putin.
that's how we know there's a problem, and that's how we also know that Biden is doing the best that he can, and Biden has got to be put. If Netanyahu wants Trump, that means that our administration is putting pressure on Netanyahu, and for us to be out here saying we're going to punish Biden does not get punished. Let's be clear about this.
Right.
You writing uncommitted, you not voting for Biden in the general election does not punish Biden. Biden will go home. He will retire with Jill, and they will live the rest of their happy lives, because the things that are going to impact us, IVF, abortion bans, mass shootings, those things are not going to impact him whatsoever. So you are punishing the rest of us and your damn selves.
Well, I think there was another state, I don't know if you recall, that tried to do sort of a similar campaign, and it didn't even come close to working. New Hampshire. Yeah. And I'm just hoping that maybe Michigan kind of shows the rest of the progressives and everybody that keeps trying these campaigns that it is just another gigantic Joe Biden blowout, and that they kind of go, all right, this isn't working.
Yeah, they were
I think maybe we should change course.
Yeah, and they were saying that the campaign wanted their goal was 10,000. Someone had pointed out that during Obama's administration that there was a campaign against him, and the goal, and it was like 20,000 people voted uncommitted or whatever. And
So they knocked it down to 10.
Yeah. So now if it's 10, like that's kind of nothing, but it is something, right? Because Biden does care, and we know he cared because he tried to talk to them when he went there, and they refused to talk to him. And his administration has been in Michigan, not him trying to, to talk to people. But again, Beto, very disappointed.
Yeah, me too. And before we move on, real quick, back to Nikki Haley. What's her play? She's staying in this race. Is she hoping that Trump is eventually going to have to sort of drop out because he's going to jail? Is she setting up for future? What's the ultimate play here? Why does she continue to stay in? Because my horrific feeling is that when this is all over and she has to drop out of the race, she's going to do what every one of the rest of them did and go canvass for Donald Trump and just give him the support. Now, if she doesn't, that's a big deal. But what do you think?
So I don't think that she can be in the race until something happens to him, because Super Tuesday is coming up. So nothing's going to happen to him before then.
Right.
So
That's true. That's true.
that's
Yeah, you're
not
right.
going to happen for her.
But is she thinking maybe down the line he's gone and then she was number 2 and then she can, I don't know, does she hop back in somehow? Is that how that works?
If I can do my woman thing,
Yes.
and put myself where Nikki Haley is, I wouldn't drop out either. And I wouldn't drop out because I'd be like, fuck that rude motherfucker.
Right.
I'm just going to be here and be a thorn in his fucking ass.
Yeah.
Even if at the end I have to turn around and say that I support him
Then
because
what's
I
all this
want to.
for?
Right, because she has future aspirations, and this is what the Republican Party is. Like, we just got to be real with that and try to understand that it's either you fall in line or you retire like the rest of them had to do, right? Like, she wants to stay, so she's probably going to end up supporting him. And I think that this is her, and I don't like her. Let's get this clear. But I just kind of think that this is her way of just hitting him. And it's like, it's almost like it's cathartic for her at this point. Like, it seems every time I see her on the trail and she's talking and she's saying these things, it seems like she's just saying everything that she's always wanted to say the whole time that she's known. Even when she was in the administration, she's just spitting it out,
right?
Because she knows at the end of this, she's got to fall in line. Like, she knows it, and I think that's just what she's doing until she's at the end of the line. And if she did it, then I would respect her more. But I think that if she wants a career in what else is she going to do? She can't even run in South Carolina, right?
Right,
Like, she can't even do anything in her own state because they rejected her for Trump. So at least if she went and supported him at the end, maybe she could go back to South Carolina and do whatever. But
I think she's made it clear too, because I think there was an interview that she did, and she said that she still thinks that Joe Biden's more dangerous than Donald Trump, which is insanely ridiculous.
Yeah, she knows better. I know. I feel she's lying, and I think that she's young, so she doesn't want to end her career. She's not going to just do that. Like, Christie he doesn't care. She wants to run again. She'll probably run for president again.
Yeah. Well, speaking of young, and there's a young lady named Elise Stefanik. And if you are familiar with our show and you're familiar with Lana's show, we actually interviewed her opponent, Stephen Holden. Elise Stefanik was on stage at CPAC. And, by the way, speaking of CPAC, usually there's a lot of clips that are just, and don't get me wrong, CPAC was as batshit crazy as it always gets, but it seemed a little lame this year. I don't know. I didn't get as much,
right.
I didn't get the super crazy like we normally do. It
feels
like it was a little off.
You're right. But you know what? Maybe that is the media, right? We talk about the media and say they're not showing Biden as much, but it also seems like they've tamped down on letting Donald Trump just say whatever. Like, so maybe
they're not even covering half the things anymore because it's just so crazy.
So maybe the media is getting better, right?
Maybe
they are, because we haven't seen it all over the place.
Yeah, usually you'll see day 1, day 2, day 3. You'll see Marjorie Taylor Greene all over the place, Don Jr. You'll see all these nutballs, but I really didn't see a whole bunch out of CPAC. I did see Donald Trump's. Obviously, they covered that a lot, but I also noticed too there were some of the coverage of CPAC. They would show the room. There wasn't a whole bunch of people in some of these rooms. And that's a lot less than it has been in the past. maybe that's just a media trick and they just happen to catch the one guy that nobody was going to sit there and listen to and filmed it. But Elise Stefanik was on the stage at CPAC, and you talk about gaslighting people. I want you to listen to somebody who is practically begging to be Donald Trump's vice president, Donald Trump's accomplishments, and why we should all bow down to him just like she does.
Trump left Joe Biden the strongest economy in my lifetime. Millions of new jobs, historic wage growth for blue-collar workers, the lowest unemployment in 50 years, booming U.S. manufacturing, and 15 million Americans lifted out of poverty.
So, Lana, with her saying that, I decided to do a little bit of research just to see whether or not.
Is she saying that was Donald Trump?
Yes.
Stop playing. Like, stop. When? Like, when did he lift anyone out of poverty? He didn't even say that when he was president. He never said that.
Well, I've got some, she mentioned the unemployment rate. I'm going to pull up a couple screens here so you can see. Okay, Lana, tell me if you see this. Do you see that?
No.
Damn it. Oh, wait. Do you see it now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So let's go to the unemployment rate at 2017. And let's go back to, if you could see that, January of 2017, it was 4.7. That was his first year in office, right? Donald Trump.
Yeah.
January 2017. It did go down to 3.5%. Okay. And in June, or what was it, May here, April, it went up to 14.8. Now, of course, we're all fair. That had everything to do with COVID. But as he left office, which was in December of 2020, when she said when he left office, he left with the lowest unemployment rate, well, it was at 6.7%. So right now it's about as low as it's been in over 50 years that they said. And in fact, the streak of the amount of years that it has been going down is the lowest it's been in over 50 years. She talked about manufacturing jobs. Can you see that?
That's not even black unemployment. Black unemployment was like the highest ever with Donald Trump. Like, stop playing.
There was a time during Donald Trump's during his presidency where black unemployment did go down that I did see, and they did claim that it was record unemployment for blacks, but that's just not true. The record unemployment for blacks is current right now under Joe Biden.
Right.
So let's take a look at the manufacturing jobs back in 2017, January of 2017. This is in the thousands of persons. It was at 12,366. It did go up for a while, and by the time May 2020 came around, it was all the way down back to 11,652. And by the time he left office, it was at 12,194. If you continue on beyond his presidency, you could see that Joe Biden is at 12,000. This is at November of 2023. And that number is higher as of now because the job numbers just continue to go up. But that was at 12,948. That is the highest it's been since 2008. I want to say that it was, it was September. Yeah, November of 2008. It's been the manufacturing jobs. So again, she was incorrect on that. She also brought up wages. Now, as you can see, regardless, wages have gone up no matter who the president was. Wages will always go up. But as you can see, look at the difference here, Lana. When you're looking, when Donald Trump took over in 2017 of January, it was at 26, right? And you go up, and he got to about 30 in 2020. Look at the difference now between when Joe Biden took over. It is all the way up to 34.55, which is a gigantic difference compared to, look at everything else. If you go all the way back to 2007, it just gradually goes up. 2157, 2170, 21, everything gradually goes up. That shot up pretty significantly. So the fact that Elise Stefanik has said that this was the best economy in her lifetime when Donald Trump left is just, I mean, beyond false.
Like, it just on its face, like the CHIP Act, infrastructure, all these things are just creating jobs and jobs and jobs and jobs. Like, what are we? Child poverty, that's just not true under Donald Trump. Like, and matter of fact, it was the lowest ever until we got these House MAGAs, and then it started going back up, child poverty.
Yes.
Because they got rid of the child tax credit.
Yes. And in fact, I think they tried to extend that, and they were not able to do that. So I think that's obviously what hurt that statistic. But again, it's just getting up there and just blatantly lying and not having the actual facts, behind you, and just saying, you know what, I'm going to say whatever I want. These idiots are going to believe it, and they're going to vote on it based on that. But I want to play another clip here real quick of, obviously not the biggest Fox News fans here. Let me remove a couple of these because it's not going to let me play it unless I do. But Neil Cavuto was on, and Donald Trump was spewing his lies about the economy and why the stock market was so high. But he was in the middle of his little speech lying, and to Neil Cavuto's credit, this is what he did and what he had to say.
Of the president's remarks, and I mean no offense to him, or some of you might want to continue hearing, but I did have to say that even though the former president is entitled to his opinions, he's not entitled to his own set of facts. The market has indeed been going up, but having nothing to do with him and everything to do with this aggressive cut in interest rates, or does a hiking in interest rates and stabilize inflation, and of course the whole artificial intelligence phenomenon that has benefited NVIDIA and a host of companies that are making money hand over fist. So that, whether you want to give Biden credit for that, has nothing to do with Donald Trump. Furthermore, he mentioned about gas prices out of whack, $6 a gallon. The national average right now is $3.26 cents a gallon. He went on to talk about the 2020 election and how that was rigged. This has been adjudicated many times, dozens of times. It's been investigated by everyone and his uncle. No fewer than 44 investigations launched, some of them by judges that were picked by Donald Trump himself, that found no evidence of that in the 7 battleground states where most of them were focused. Donald Trump lost each and every one of those states, and no facts or no history that he mentions on the stump right now.
So back in the day, you didn't necessarily have to worry too much about the so-called gaslighting. But because of this day and age where we have not just, people who are not qualified to talk about politics, but people who are actually in politics, and the most powerful person on the Republican side in politics just up there spewing lies constantly, it's a breath of fresh air to see somebody, especially on a network that is pro that side, whether it's pro Trump or just pro MAGA or whatever it is, to spill out the facts. And that's really how news should be every day on every channel. And that's why it makes me so angry and it frustrates me so much that we're trying to pretend like Joe Biden and Donald Trump are the same fucking guy. And I got to sit here and try to weigh the differences of the two based on their policy or based on their, one guy just completely lying. So I've got to sit here and go, well, should I vote for Donald Trump because he told me that everything was perfect when he was president, or should I listen to the fucking facts?
Right.
It's so frustrating. It's just so frustrating to hear that. But last thing, I want to show one more clip of my man, Gavin Newsom, once again. You talk about a guy that knows how to message and knows how to go out there and not just answer questions, but answer the innocuous, inane ridiculous questions that he has to continue to answer. Just the way he reacts and the way he speaks to these questions. He was on Meet the Press with Kristen Welker, who you were hoping would be a good alternative to Chuck Todd. And she's just not. She's awful. She's awful.
What's happening with her?
I don't know. I don't need her to be a shill for the Democratic Party. But man,
push back.
Yeah, they're just so bad at this. I don't know. But here's Gavin Newsom.
Governor, days after that special counsel report came out questioning the president's age and his memory, the Washington Post reported that anxious Democrats reached out to top Biden donors to ask, quote, when is Gavin getting in? Or how about Whitmer or Shapiro? The buzz has not stopped. I know you've been asked this before, but do you still rule out a run in 2024?
You got to be kidding. I am here celebrating.
That's such a stupid question.
The extraordinary accomplishment.
Go ahead. Yeah, it is.
It's just so stupid. Like, it's just, why the primaries are almost, Super Tuesday's coming. What the fuck are you talking about?
It's because this is what media is. And it's unfortunately not just in our political media. It's in our sports media. It's in our entertainment media. Everything's got to be controversy. Everything's got to be, the hot topic. I grew up watching ESPN and I loved it. I could watch it all day long. I can't watch 1 second of ESPN anymore because everything, it's not even just interesting conversation. It is made up, generated anger. And now the people who are reporting the news on ESPN and all these other sports channels, they almost want to be part of the scene. They're trying to troll players so they can get into arguments with them on Twitter, so they can be part of the story. And it's just like, this is so corny. But let's finish up with Gavin.
Of the Biden-Harris administration, making the case that we need to make to lift up the issues, lift up the record, drive contrast with the Republican nominee to be Donald Trump, so that we can win for 4 more years.
Have you gotten any calls, Governor, encouraging you to run?
It's all idle chatter. It's all you know what? That's a sideshow. I think what Democrats need to do is worry less, do more, continue to overperform as we have, continue to win, make the case. Don't be ashamed of 4.1% GDP over the last 2 quarters. Don't be ashamed about the alliance management of the Biden-Harris administration. Don't be timid about making the case for the record of this administration.
So you're ruling it out 100%.
It's not even an interesting conversation.
Right.
And by the way, I think it's a damning conversation. Frankly, the other side wants us to have. And trust me, I know the mishigash coming from the other side. I'm deeply mindful of the anger machine and all the entertainment industry out there on Fox and elsewhere that love ginning this stuff up. At the end of the day, not only has this train left the station, but we get to enjoy a record of accomplishments as we make the case in a re-election, the likes of which we couldn't have even dreamt of, even as a Democrat
wants to cut him
the
off.
last century.
Trump says he's ready to.
Yeah, and again, it's just the pressing of the question. At some point, I almost wanted him to go, what is the angle here? You know, why do you keep doing this? Because I don't know how many times you want me to answer it. Huh?
Yeah, it looked like you wanted to. It looked like he was looking at her like, why do you keep asking me this? Like,
do you have a producer in the ear saying, continue to press, continue to press?
Probably.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. It's good you said that because it's got to be like some background, something of Meet the Press. Did somebody buy this Meet the Press that we don't know about? Like, what is it that's fueling this line of questioning and guess now? Because she's all off. Like, she was not here. And I don't want to just blame it all on her if the network, or not the network, if the show that's how they want it to be at this point. Because this is not who she is. Like, I don't remember her to be this person. This is
that's what it is. I mean, they gave her the job. And unfortunately, when you hear you're going to be the host of Meet the Press and you're following somebody as great as Tim Russert was on that show, it's a prestigious job in your mind, but it is no longer, because the media is different now. It is now you're throwing Kristen Welker in there, and now she's not the journalist that she always been. Now she's the, I got to press this guy and get
Some
the
salaciousness because we need the ratings.
yeah, we need the ratings, and we need the viral moments, and we
Right.
need that kind of bullshit. And
Todd sucked, right? So now they're like, maybe we can get this with Christian.
correct.
She sucks too. Like, 'cause this isn't her lane. She sucks because it's not her lane. Like, it's just literally not her lane.
And Gavin Newsom put it perfect. He says, this is not even a interesting conversation.
Yeah, you see her face like,
yeah. And it's like, what used to happen is that the journalist used to press the politician. Now the politician's pressing the journalist back on, what the fuck are you talking about? You're supposed to be loaded with really good questions. And you're going to ask me 3 fucking different ways if I'm running in 2020 when you know that, or 2024, when you know I've answered this question at least 100 times in the last 3 months. You're going to ask me the fuck, what is going on?
And I'm not. Like, really think about that. How could I run right now? Like, how? That's come on.
It's so it's frustrating. It's infuriating. And like I've said before, this unfortunately is our new normal. This is exactly what we're going to have to live with for the rest of our lives. And, it was getting bad before Trump, but Trump changed the game because now they really know how to manipulate the media, and the media buys into it. They bow down to Trump in a way, the same way these politicians do. They buy into it. And it's just, to me, I don't know. I saw somebody made a comment before. It was really good on the lines of, you guys telling the truth about Donald Trump is not being unfair. You think you're, being unfair if you don't both sides everything, but telling the truth about what could potentially happen to this country is not something that's unfair. It is your fucking duty, and it is your job to do so. And they're still playing the both sides thing. And I know every once in a while you're going to turn it on and you're going to see Donald Trump's an asshole, and you're going to see this, and people are going to say things about Donald Trump. But then you'll look at a next segment and, even, like the New York Times, they're just like, there is I don't know if you follow on Twitter, you should. If you don't, there's an account called the New York Times Pitch Bot. And basically what it is just making fun of New York Times headlines. It's kind of like, Donald Trump has 91 felony accounts against him. Why this is bad for Biden, because they always have those kind of stupid headlines. Why something you would think is good for Biden, why it's bad for him. And it's just like, so corny.
Yeah. Did you watch any of the hearing with what's his name, Attorney Bradley?
I saw a little bit of it today where he was just like, yeah, I did. Yep.
That was the defense's star witness.
And you could even hear her. She was like, wait, whoa, didn't you tell me? He was like, no, I didn't. He was like, God damn it. When is this clown show ending? Do you have any idea?
So I guess
we're talking about the Fonnie Willis case, by the way.
Yeah. So I guess the judge had like some meeting with
it was an emergency sort of meeting, right?
Bradley, because they wanted to tamp down on the attorney-client privilege thing, because the last time they had him testify, he didn't answer anything because he claimed everything was attorney-client privilege, and the judge wanted to like kind of box in what was and what wasn't, and then put him back on so they could ask him. Because, I mean, and here's a stupid thing, and they were talking about this too. They're like, the judge is kind of young. He shouldn't have even let it get this far. Right. Because at this point, the motion was about a conflict. That's how we started. That like Fonnie hired Wade so that she could monetarily benefit. That has proven to be false. They couldn't prove that she benefited. She didn't benefit from that. There's no conflict. So then he let them jump from conflict to, well, if this guy is lying, then that means that Fonnie and, Wade lied. So that testifies to their credibility, right? So that's a problem now,
Right.
because it's not whether, no one cares when she had that affair. She could have had it in 2018, way before she could have started sleeping with that man. No one cares. But if she lied under oath,
Right.
that's the problem. So that's why they brought him back today, to try to see if those two lied under oath, because then that's a problem.
It gets their credibility. And I saw the other day that Megyn Kelly, the former disgraced Fox News host, who I don't know what apparently she has a successful podcast, but she was celebrating that there were phone records that proved that, they may have known each other before they testified. And
so,
okay, again, here's the thing, and this is what I don't think the MAGA verse really understands. It's my understanding that, let's say, Fonnie Willis completely lied about a relationship with a guy. In what way does this mean Donald Trump is not guilty of trying to overturn the election in Georgia?
Well, that's not the point anymore.
It's the delay. Is it they're trying to delay the case past the election?
Her thrown off, because they know if she's thrown off, then they have to find another DA that will take this case. She's the only RICO person in Georgia, right?
I got you. Okay.
So that's what they will, because if they delay it long enough, that's what they want.
It's my understanding a DA would take the case, and it would just maybe take a long enough time to delay the case past the election, which of course is what nobody wants. Right. But we do have a case coming up within just 4 weeks, right? The Stormy Daniels case will be coming up in March, and there's no stopping that one. Donald Trump has also quasi appealed these the New York.
He wants he filed a motion to block the testimony of Stormy.
Yeah,
Cohen, the main
right. I know. They're gonna say, so the main witnesses in this case, the guy who actually went to jail originally on this case, you're gonna tell me he's not gonna be able to testify? What are you, fucking insane? But they're all insane. None of the things that they try to do in court have worked. Literally not one thing, because
Florida does.
That's true. In Florida, it is a little bit of a strange case, but I think you and I have talked about this before. There's just so much going on with all these cases. It's hard to keep them all straight.
Yeah. How many counts does he even have?
It's 34 in the one coming up in the Stormy Daniel case. That's really good. Yeah, that's 34 of the counts. And
one.
Well, again, Michael Cohen already went to jail for this, and he got out. I think it was some COVID thing or something. The reason why he was able to get out, and he was on home arrest.
It is true. So, how does this person go to jail for doing it, and we're saying that this guy is not guilty at all for having him do it?
Right. And I think, the idea is that he will be found guilty on some counts.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll do any jail time.
No, absolutely. And that's okay.
Yeah, and that is okay, because I don't think anybody wants to see him thrown in jail for this one. I think they want to see him for the ones that really
I kinda do. It doesn't
well,
matter.
yeah, you're right. I do too. It would not bother me at all if he was thrown in jail. But again, I think it's just he could play his martyr card a little bit earlier than he wants to. But whether he goes to jail or he doesn't go to jail, which appears that he probably won't on this case, I can't imagine he won't be found not guilty. But then the next case after that is going to be the...
How does he even get to run if he's found guilty of a felony?
Because there's nowhere that says that he cannot run for president.
It's kind of crazy.
You can't vote for yourself.
Right, but you can be a felon. He just shouldn't be president anyway with all this debt. No one should be beholden and have this amount of debt and then become president. But I guess that's why they look to the public to do their due diligence and not vote for somebody who may be compromised. But you would think there would be some type of paperwork saying you can't be in debt over a certain amount of money because you could be bribed.
Did the founders, I mean, really, did they really think that anything like this could be possible? And I would say they had a lot of really good foresight in a lot of things. We talked earlier about, the separation between church and state, that they had that foresight. I mean, could they even come close to imagining anything like this?
Yeah, no, probably not, I guess.
Because I don't think you and I growing up could have imagined anything like this.
I mean, they didn't imagine Black folks not to be enslaved, so I guess not.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. I mean, there's a wild imaginations and no imagination back then. It's just, I don't know, man. I'm at a loss for words, because this is just beyond ridiculous. Because, again, when there was serious news back in the day, the Nixon story was not a story for a day. It wasn't something that somebody talked about on a late night talk show for 2 days. That was talked about for years. Donald Trump does something, it's talked about for an hour, and then it's replaced with something else, and then it's replaced with something else, and replaced with something else. And it's just like, when does it stop? And I'm just hoping in November of this year, at least this part of the MAGA section, that head will be chopped off, and then we'll see what's, remaining with the rest of the body.
We can hope.
Yeah. So, all right, Lana, what do you think? Anything else to add?
Vote. I'm anxious to see what's going on in Michigan. So
yeah. Well, obviously, I'll check that out when we get off here. Lana Quest has her show on Thursday night. If you didn't watch last week's show, it was very, very good. I was very engaged, and it was a very good show. So you should watch the replay of that. But you should also be there on Thursday night, because you talk about somebody who cannot be stopped right now. It's Lana Quest, because she has been on
like
time, and I want to say it's 8 weeks in a row.
Yeah. Oh my God. I need a break.
I don't know if anybody even realizes what a big deal that is.
No, it is a big deal, because I was taking every other Thursday off. Like, I can't. But it's good. It's good to have the videos. It's good to keep moving and keep working and putting stuff out, because that is how you get subscribers and get more people to watch your show.
There's no question about it. So, but it's a great show. So tune into her on Thursday night at 8 o'clock. You can watch the Quest show, and then you can join us back here next Tuesday at 8 p.m., which I'm sure we'll have plenty of things to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
So anything that happens in the next day or two, you can definitely watch it on the Quest show on Thursday. And then anything that happens from Friday to Monday, we will probably
It's true.
on this show. So, Lana, as always, I thank you very much. And we will talk to everybody again on Tuesday.
Night.
Good night, everybody.